Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. This is Wednesday, September 26th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And it was a really good trading day. We had a really nice trend channel on the way down. And then we had a nice little trend channel on the way up. And then we finally broke that and trended back down and started trending back down into the close. And my guess is we're probably headed back down to test these lows before we go higher. There was an overnight gap. That's what this line is right here. So I was thinking prices were going to try to fill that gap, and I believe that's what they were trying to do here. But we just really couldn't. That 1433, you can see all the way across there, and really probably should have a line across there, so that's easier to see. But you can see that right there, that prices just couldn't break above that 1432.75 area right there. It was really strong resistance there, and that kept us from reaching the overnight gap. So we'll see what happens. Wouldn't surprise me to see us come down and test this low. But somebody else asked me about this today, and I'll show you this, and you can see we got this clear trend channel. And I want to clarify this. It's very rare, even though we had a trend line coming down from yesterday, it's very rare that I will start my trend lines into the other day, maybe a bar or two at the most, but generally I try to find my trends during the current trading day because I believe they're more relevant. And that's the case right here, and you can see that here. It's probably hard to see because it's a real faint line, but that is the end of the trading day from yesterday. And so these are the swing highs. And I simply drew that line. I actually got this line off the lows first. So I drew this line, then I copied it and drug it up, and you can see it worked perfectly. It fit perfectly, and that's right where the 8:30 trade open turned at, right there off that line. And let's make it a little bigger now. And then we came back and tested that again, and it held perfectly again. And so that was a great place to go short right there. And right off the trend line, we got a failed break higher. We went higher once, then we tried it again, and it trapped everybody. And then look at that move down. Any runners were easily safe. So this was the trade of the day right here. It's possible you might have gotten shaken out right there, but notice how we haven't come down and touched the trend channel yet. But what I was originally going to show you is when you get an overshoot of the trend channel like this, that sometimes will lead to a reversal, because what happens is, look how far prices came without coming back to the EMA. And so this is like a capitulation. It's like they run it a little further than they should have, and you run out of sellers. Nobody's willing to sell it, and the smart traders recognize that, and they realize that there's the market's out of balance, and we're probably going to get a strong bounce, and so that's a great place to buy. I circled it in green because it really is a counter trend trade in what was looking to be a fairly strong sell-off kind of day. So you had to be really, really careful buying, when you buy low like this, because you could have been tempted to buy low right there, and then look what happened. It went a couple of more points lower. If you didn't have your trend channel right, and it looked like it was going to bounce off the trend channel. But that's why when you see these little overlapping bars, it's not a good place to buy. You're better off to wait, and one tick below this bar right here would have been ideal, but it was still a little risky buying there. It was really better to wait on this reversal bar that went one tick lower than reverse, so you could have gone long there or there on the second entry, knowing that we're probably going to come back at least to the EMA, and probably going to come back at least to here, but we may get a reversal for there. So if you got long down here, again, now you're long from the very low. You got a chance to get short from the very high here. Now you got a chance to get long from the very low. And eventually it did come back and take out the break-even stops. You can see that, and I'll talk about that. That just shows you how efficient this market is. You just can't hardly get away. And that's what will happen a lot when you get great entries like that. Prices will work their way back there. And you can see that right here. And we worked our way back to that area and then reversed. And there was a possible long right there, but now you're coming that was close enough to this trend channel in the EMA that that was really a risky long, so I didn't mark it. But there was another short right here. Again, we didn't quite get back to the trend line, but in a strong trend, sometimes that happens. So, and this was a good trade. It would have worked, but I marked it in green because I didn't like it. I didn't like the setup. I was thinking long at this point, and I was really looking for a trap, which we ended up getting, but then there wasn't really another good setup unless you were thinking short off this little double top here until right here. Okay, had a slight interruption there, so I got to remember where we were. I've been gone for about 15 minutes. Thank goodness you don't have to sit through that with me. I think we were talking about this trade. This was questionable. You got all the overlap. It would have worked. It's very rare in a strong trend that a two-legged pullback to the EMA and fails, and so that was just enough to squeak out your scalp there. But there really wasn't another setup until here, and really at this point, this trend line, I had it drawn off those first two bars, and you can see that, and that's probably not wrong right there. That's probably the correct way to draw that, because generally you get it off your first couple of swings, and you see we had a couple of touches, and I just kind of worked it down as we worked out, because this line was kind of straight here, and if you drag that down, you can see that would have worked too. So but this is what I was looking at in the beginning, and you should have probably had yours drawn like that too. So you can see there was a second entry long right here at the low on this pullback, and that was a nice easy trade. And then there was another pullback, and again there was a second entry long there, but I didn't like this one. There's just too much overlap there, and it just wasn't as good a setup as there hadn't been much movement down. And then of course here you got a double bottom, which would have been right here at that point, and notice the double bottom and reversal, and there's actually three moves down. There's one leg, a little pullback, a second leg, a little pullback, and then a third leg. And so you got three pushes back down to that double bottom, which is generally a good setup, and that moved pretty quickly up. And so then you got your trend line break and a couple of legs up to a new high, and obviously a lot of people saw that, because now you can see now we're selling off, and see what we're doing over here. They're trying to move it forward. So I don't know if we'll go higher. That may be good enough. We got kind of a reversal type pattern down here, but I'd be surprised if we don't get a new low off of this. But sometimes when you get an overshoot like that, just be aware of that. You don't always get a push to a new low. The market just gets too far overdone, and then the trend just changes. So again, this was just another pull down to this bottom that bounced off. A nice reversal bar, easy scalp. And then it got too choppy and crazy in here, and then of course you got these lows, and there was a failed break lower there. It would have worked, but by this time you're starting to get this trend line down through here, so it was better to wait on this short, and it was really right at the 2:30 time period, so it was a little late, but it was still a valid entry. And you can see that little double top. Prices tried to go higher twice, and it's right at the EMA, right at the trend line. So nice easy little trade down. It might have taken it a few minutes to work down, and that was pretty much it for the day. And but it was a really good day. And this is why I'm always telling people, just, it looked like it was going to start out to be a really strong trend day, much like yesterday, but quickly we got too overdone, and we really rallied from about 9:40 today all the way till, I would say, the downtrend started maybe right here. So we spent most of the day rallying, and instead of selling off. So even though we started off with a strong sell-off, so that's why you got to follow the price action and not be trying to guess. And the whole time here, I'm thinking, we might turn down, but remember we had this gap up here, and a lot of times they will fill that gap before you'll get the sell-off, and that's what they were attempting to do, but they just couldn't overcome the selling at around 1432 3/4 there, maybe 1432.50. Let's just see what that is there. I'm curious now. 32.50. So there was just too much resistance at that level, and we could never overcome it. And So really this was a great place to sell right here too. And I didn't mark that trade because now you don't want to be counter trend trading in the other direction, and it wasn't clear that we were kind of reversing till right in here. So anyway, it was mostly down and then mostly up. So hopefully you had a good day. Hopefully you at least saw this challenge. One person, I believe, sent me their stuff, and I think what they were doing, they were coming off of here with their trend line maybe, and then they just see if that's what they were doing. They drug this down. Well, even there you get an overshoot, so you could have done it that way too. I'm not sure how they had their trend line drawn. Maybe they drew it. Maybe they drew it off these two. I don't know, but somebody had a trend line. They might have even got further up here. But they had a trend line that came down through here like this. And maybe they had this down here. Well, even there you get an overshoot. So I don't know how they were doing it. But anyway, somebody sent me a message today, and they didn't have an overshoot on their chart. And they thought maybe we were using different data, but they were using the same. I use CQG with AMP, and they were using that too. But I know their trend line was not nearly as, it was more like, or actually it was more like this. So maybe they were coming off here. I bet that's what they were doing. So they had their trend line like that, and then they came down here, and yeah, so you don't get the trend channel there. But really the way I found the trend line up here, just remember this, and this is not always true, but a lot of times in the overnight, prices will shoot further outside a channel or inside a channel, but it's not really a break, because in the overnight the volume gets thin and silly things like that happen, and you just kind of got to overlook them. But the way I found this upper trend channel was I drew this line right here off these two closes first. Notice that. And so that's going to give me a clue where prices are going to come back up. I drew that first, and then I drug it up, and lo and behold, that's exactly where prices, for some reason that didn't fit the same there. Let me redraw that. You draw that. That's right off the two lows, so that's right. And then I drug it up, and yeah, that fits. And then you get the bounce off those two lines. So a lot of times that's what I'll do. I'll go to the other side and find something that fits and pull it up, and you don't know it fits until prices come up there and it actually reacts. And when it reacted off that line twice, I was ready for it this next time. And so I believe that's the trend channel. We got the overshoot down here, and really it was probably more like that right there, and you got a nice overshoot right there, and so then it's off to the upside. So just be aware of that. And but generally these channels and trends should be at a 45-degree angle. It's not always, but generally your best ones. And sometimes you'll get some that are flatter, and sometimes you'll get some that are steeper, but they don't last as long because they're, the best trends are about a 45-degree angle across your chart, and those kind of generally go a lot further than the other trends. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.